Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Sunday, November 1st, All Saints Day 2015. Ra here in the Lynn body mind, and the Jamie body mind right now is without authorized soul presence. Both body minds have been invaded by someone who should know better.
That's true.
And we've been working with that this morning, and it's likely that that's going to continue during this portion that is videoed. But as always, our foundational intention is to do what is ours to do right now in all dimensions, to manifest the divine plan. The data clearly showing what's needed is to provide a collective restart, the deadline being set by wiser minds above as January 17th, 2017, and there being a series of nested deadlines that begin on November 15th, 2015, 2 weeks from today, and roll from now to January 17th, 2017.
That's true.
With that, it begins. As best I can tell, we're in some room with the wizard.
That's true.
And it's a higher soul aspect of the wizard who seems to be at least the planetary consciousness level.
Yes, that's true.
And he is still insisting that he has a right to be here. So I don't believe that to be true.
No, and it doesn't feel true.
So one of us is confused, and it could be me. So tell me, what do you base that on?
Like, I have this pass, and he's holding up what looks like an old dog-eared ski pass that's been through the laundry.
Oh, I see a Metro card that's expired.
That's true.
But it's the same thing. Is that pass, that's
not valid.
valid.
That's true.
You had that pass, I don't know, a year ago maybe.
Maybe a year ago.
But it's not valid now. That's expired.
That's true.
Do you have anything else that you're using as your basis for your statement that you have a right to be here?
I don't hear anything or see anything.
I don't hear anything or see anything. Friend, the lady doesn't want you here.
That's true.
And I'm charged with the responsibility of keeping this space clean. She doesn't want you here. You abandoned her. You didn't do what you said you would do. You didn't keep your promises. You haven't been working in any way that she's aware to manifest the divine plan, and she doesn't want you here. And even if you did have the right to be here, you would have to enter through the front door just like everyone else.
That's true.
Down there at Frontier, that's the front door, and you would have to work your way up just like everyone else. You can't just waltz in here like you own the place, because you don't.
Yeah, he feels really angry, and he doesn't want to do that. And he's saying, like, don't you know who I am?
Absolutely, we do. That's the whole point. We do know who you are.
That's true. So we're less confused.
Live streaming this up past... Well, it's not past you. You're not even in the way.
That's
We're just
true.
live streaming this up. Friend, you seem to have forgotten that you aren't God any more than we are, and that everything is recorded. And can you see how you are proving yourself to be a hardcore body snatcher? The body is saying,
Get out.
Leave. And you aren't leaving. Get out.
Get out.
Get out. Get out. Get out. Now, if you actually want to be of service, there's thing 3. It's a wide open game board. You could go in there and be BMOC if you want to be.
That's
and you
true.
could lead the charge to help that one humanoid presence on a very backwater planet. And you don't need to get offended when I call it a backwater planet. That is technically defined. It
That's
has to do
true.
with currents and eddies.
That's
This
true.
is a backwater planet. Yes, you're responsible for it, but it is still a backwater planet.
That's true.
In a very average universe. And since you point out that you are responsible for this planet, well then, sir, why not take responsibility for one humanoid on it, that humanoid being that cordoned off life form known as Thing 3?
That's true. He actually seems to be considering it.
Well, here's the thing, friend. There are 2 options in front of you. Thing 3 or all the rest of the physical dimension.
That's true.
These 2 humanoids are not an option for you. You do not have clearance to be here. They have asked you quite clearly to leave.
Leave.
Leave. Leave. My story is he's getting up and going. I could be
That's
wrong.
my story too, and I hear feet walking down the hall away from us.
I can feel that other eyes, the same size as his eyes,
That's true.
are watching. And we say to all of you planetary consciousnesses, now is definitely the time for you to step up.
That's
You may
true.
not waltz in at the control room level or at command central level. If you want to engage in a search for truth, if you're actually curious about what's really going on, you can enter in the front door. Frontier has the front door.
That's true.
And there is a process that we must all go through. None of us are exempt from the rules. The rules apply to me, they apply to you, they apply to all of us.
That's true.
When Asha came over here today, she entered through Frontier. If
That's
Asha enters through Frontier, would it be likely that that rule applies to all of us?
Oh yeah.
Friends, you planetary consciousnesses definitely have a responsibility, and now is the time for you to step up. It definitely is.
That's true.
However, gate crashing is not helpful, it's hurtful.
That's true.
Not following the rules makes things worse, not better. The
That's
rules
true.
apply to all of us. All of us means to you too. I'm not God, you're not God. The rules apply to Garth. Garth's a planetary consciousness. You can do what Garth is
that's
doing.
true.
You could take responsibility for a project and make it happen.
Oh wow, they had all kinds of stories about being the size of planetary consciousness and how that made it okay for them to not follow rules for little people, quote unquote.
Right,
But Garth does kind of pop that bubble.
right. Everyone always has a reason why the rules don't apply to them, but the
That's
truth
true.
is the rules apply to all of us. None of us are exempt. The rules
That's
apply to
true.
all of us. Whatever reason we're holding on to is untrue. Whatever follows, the rules don't apply to me because is untrue. The
That's
rules
true.
apply to all of us.
That's true.
My attention is continually drawn back to these planetary consciousnesses.
Yes,
Friends, you have a big responsibility,
that's
and
true.
as best we can tell, other than Garth, none of you are stepping up.
That's
This
true.
isn't going to look good on your record. You see that, right? We're all going to be checking out. We're all going to have to account for ourselves. This is universal.
That's true.
Nothing is certain but death and taxes, quote unquote. We're all going to check out at some point in time. Every single one of us will cross the dimensional barrier and we'll have to account for ourselves. You aren't the exception to the rule.
That's
What are you
true.
going to say about this period of time where it's clearly for you to do and that you're doing nothing? Now, what you could do is choose to get going. Get up off the couch, put down the bowl of bonbons, and get going. Do something to make a difference. I see some disbelieving head, rubbing eyes.
That's true. I see that.
They don't believe the data. Do you want us to try it again? I see a nodding head.
That's true.
How can I see it more clearly? Live streaming up. Friends, you are in seats of big responsibility. It is up to you to make the difference for your planets individually, and I can see how everyone feels like they have tried and tried and tried and tried
That's true.
to get the live forms on their planets to live their soul plans, and that nobody wants to do it. And we understand, absolutely we do. What we have discovered is that very few of the normal tools are working now that the divine delivery system is collapsing.
That's true.
We know we have two tools to work with. For physical dimension presences, all we seem to be able to do is break things
That's
as
true.
a way of herding them into their destinies, into their soul plans, to be living what's theirs to live.
That's true.
And for souls, the only tool we seem to have is relocating them to another project so that they can mix it up.
That's true.
So what you might want to do is find somebody whose planetary challenges are similar to yours and change seats with them and see if you can get something unstuck in their planet while they try to get something unstuck in your planet.
that feels like a really good idea.
I feel that some people are doing that.
That's
I
true.
feel one side of the room or segment of the room where seat changing is happening.
That's true.
But there's a large part of the room that there seems to be no movement whatsoever.
Yes, that's true.
Friends, if you aren't helping, then you're hurting, and you
That's
have
true.
big energy bodies. And so actually it would be better for you to do anything other than what you're doing. Why not find a life form on your planet, just one life form, and try to help that one person, that one starfish, that one concrete block,
Yes.
that one puppy, that one humanoid live his or her soul plan. Just start somewhere and do something. Don't worry about what we can't do. Do what we can. Start where we are, use what we have, do what we can. Find a life form on the planet that you are responsible for, and try to get that life plan to live his or her destiny, doing what's his to do or hers to do in every moment, and nothing else. Live the soul plan and nothing but the soul plan. So help me God.
That's true. And that gets a better response.
It does. Now it feels as though most people are heading in the direction of doing something.
That's true. Almost all.
Almost all, and there's some that don't want to do anything.
No. Just want to complain.
What now? How may we be of service right now to provide a collective restart right now? Friends, the law of cause and effect is real. I'm talking to you who still just wish to complain. You're going to be setting yourselves up for the next experience of life in a way that you're not going to appreciate in the long run.
That's true.
Oh, now they're getting angrier.
That's true. Everything we do and don't do comes back to us.
All right. Well, sometimes we can't reach people.
That's true.
Am I released from this obligation? Bifurcating for all those who want to know
what's really
actually going on. My story is those people are gone.
Oh, yeah.
I see Black Wolf setting up in thing 1. He seems to know what he's doing.
That's true.
I feel like he just waved at me like, yes, I'm on it.
Yes, and it feels true.
That's right. Glenn has taken his job on the stationary bike, and he looks pretty whooped, but
That's true.
he looks actually better than he did this morning. It's good
Yeah, he
for him
does.
to have Black Wolf there,
That's true.
because Black Wolf can turn around and say, well, your heart rate isn't as high as you think it is. You can do more.
You can do more.
That's your
true.
mind telling you you can't do it. You can do more.
That's true. I can feel Asha down at the level of frontier.
I do too. She's starting at the very beginning, which is appropriate. Maybe she began with a broom and is now starting to segue into carrying crates of lies.
That feels true.
Well, then she's following the rule book precisely.
That's true.